All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Marathon Digital Holdings, stock ticker MARA. They are a Bitcoin mining company. We talk about them all the time on this channel. Marathon put out their monthly operation report for the month of September, and there was a lot of big new information in that, but more than that, they had a big event yesterday happen. So I want to talk about that in specific. I want to go through their operational report. I put a pros and cons list together, but I'm really calling it more of a list of strengths and then a list of what I'm calling uncertainties and question marks. So I want to go through all of those things, talk about both sides of the equation here on Marathon, and then I want to take a look at the chart and see where they may be going from here. I want to thank everybody for smashing the like button on recent videos. It's made a huge difference for the channel, so much appreciated. I'm going to set a like target for 400. Let's see if we can get 400 likes on this video. We've done that a couple of videos in a row, and it really has made a massive difference. So if you enjoy this content, and if you're willing to do so, please smash the like button. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Marathon had a tough day yesterday. It was down about 6.6%. All the Bitcoin miners were down yesterday. Bitcoin was down a little bit itself. So they're now trading at $7.90. When we get to the charts, you're going to see this is significantly off of their highs from just 3 months ago. I believe they're down around 60% in the last 3 months. So, and one of the reasons they got hit hard yesterday was JP Morgan initiated coverage on Marathon. So they're one of the largest influencers across all stocks. So they initiated coverage, but unfortunately for Marathon, they initiated coverage with a sell. And we're going to look at this in more specific and talk about the price target they put on this. There were other Bitcoin miners that JP Morgan started to cover yesterday as well that they were more bullish on. So it was a mixed bag, but in Marathon's case, they did start with a sell. This is the only analyst that has a sell on Marathon, but again, it is JP Morgan, so it carries a lot of weight with it. And you can see it did drag the stock down over 6.5% on what was also a red day. Okay, so first I want to go through their monthly operation report for the month of September. This came out about 1 week ago. Marathon Digital Holdings announced Bitcoin production and mining operations update for September of 2023. Increased monthly average operational hash rate by 20%, so that is a gigantic step in the right direction. Produced 1,242 Bitcoin in September of 2023 and 8,610 year to date. You're going to see they are the leaders in both of those categories. In fact, I'll take a quick look at that right now. All right, so this was the month of August. In August, you're going to see they had 1,072 Bitcoin mined. So I have not yet prepared September. That will probably come out this weekend. But you can see Marathon was already in first place by a mile as far as monthly production goes, and they broadened the gap even more in the month of September. CleanSpark was in second place in the mid 600s, so basically, Marathon was just about double the next closest miner in production for the month of September. Okay, combined unrestricted cash in Bitcoin was $471 million as of September. So I want to take a quick look at their balance sheet and show you what's going on there. The most recent balance sheet is June 30th, 2022. This was the last 10Q they put out and filed with the SEC. And you're going to see current assets of $422 million at that point. They had $113 million in cash. That's an extremely strong cash position. In addition to that, they now have about 14,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Okay, if I go a little further down their monthly operation report, they say, we increased our U.S. average operational hash rate 20% month over month to 15.8 exahash. So that's as high as they have been. Now, they've been talking about 23.3 exahash. And just to put it in perspective, they were expecting really to be at 23.3 sometime very early in the year 2023. It looks like they may not even get there by the end of the year 2023. So they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 3/4 of a year to a year behind their plan. Having said that, this still puts them by far in first place in production. So I'm not that worried about that. There were a lot of legitimate reasons that they got held up, some of which were having to do with their partners in infrastructure. The gear up that they had was monumental. So they have been adding exahash at a very rapid pace. And yes, it is nowhere near as fast as they thought they were going to, but I'm not putting that in the negative category or the cons category. I think you probably have to be pleased with 20% increase month over month in operational hash rate increase. So energized hash rate rate is 19.1. That's the amount of hash rate that they have in and energized, and if they were running at full capacity, they could be at 19.1 right now, but you're going to see the average operational hash rate for the month of September was 15.8. So even though that's well shy of 19.1, that's still a 20% increase over what was already their best month they've ever had, and you're going to see installed hash rate is the 23.1 that they've been targeting. So a lot of this is installed, but you're going to see about 4 exahash has yet to be energized. So they do have their eye on this 23.1. They are going to get there ultimately, I think, by the end of the year, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, they're already way out ahead of everybody else. This piece of information was probably the newest piece of information and something they hadn't talked about before, and it represents some major growth here. So we are evaluating multiple opportunities for our next 5 exahashes of hash rate capacity, including international locations with low-cost renewable energy. That 5 exahash at low cost is an important thing. We're going to talk about this as it ties into another one of their problems that I think they have right now. So this is a potential mitigating factor to that. We expect to announce specifics on our expansion plan in the weeks ahead. So sometime in the month of October, they're going to announce 5 additional exahash. So that's going to take them from 23 exahash up to 28 exahash. And none of this counts what they're doing in the UAE, which ultimately is 7 exahash. They own 20% of that. So I think that's 1.4 exahash for them in addition to that. And that's probably a test run for bigger things to come. That's an assumption I'm making. Fred has talked about they want to expand. They want to expand geographically. They want to expand internationally. So it looks like there's going to be a lot more of that ahead. So if I go to my list of strengths, we talked about scale. They're by far the largest Bitcoin miner to scale at this point. Production, they're number 1 in production on a monthly basis, month after month. They're number 1 year to date in the year 2023. We just talked about growth plans. They intend to add, in addition to the 23 exahash that they're working up to, they're talking about an announcement for 5 more exahash to get them to 28 exahash, and that announcement should come this month according to this operational update. We looked at the balance sheet, extremely strong balance sheet, about $500 million in current assets. And then the Bitcoin hodl position, they have the most Bitcoin on their balance sheet of any Bitcoin mining company that's publicly traded. They had 13,726 Bitcoin. That puts them over 4,000 Bitcoin ahead of the next closest Bitcoin miner, which is Hut 8. And then Riot is in third with 7,000. So they're nearly double what Riot is. In fact, I think they will be double a hodl position that Riot has by the end of the month of October. So if we go back to this list of strengths, there's a lot of good things going on with Marathon. So I really want to talk about what are, I think, a list of question marks, potential problems, difficulties, uncertainties, and these things are looming over them. I'm going to start with the most recent one, which is what happened yesterday. JP Morgan initiated coverage. Somewhere between 11 and 20 has been where their price targets have been recently. All of a sudden, out of the blue, JP Morgan came out yesterday. They initiated coverage on Marathon, and they initiated with a sell, and they put a price target on it of $5. So from where they're trading right now, that represented about 40% move to the downside is their price target. So this was pretty drastic. The price target for Riot was somewhere about 35 or 40% below where it is right now. However, with CleanSpark, actually, they were quite bullish. Their price target on CleanSpark was very nearly 50% higher than it is right now. So from JP Morgan's perspective, CleanSpark is the buy right now out of the Bitcoin miners. But most importantly, this is a Marathon video, so you can see they're very bearish on this, and that does have an influence. We'll see how long that influence lasts. You don't know exactly what it is they're thinking and what their motivations are for doing this, but just a couple of notes. This is an article from CoinDesk. This quotes the report as saying, the analyst said, Marathon is the largest mining operator, but also has the highest energy cost and lowest margins. So that's one of their big issues with Marathon, and that's one of my issues that I'm going to talk about as well. If we go to a chart that I put together, that I put out on a quarterly basis, I use their 10Ks and 10Qs to calculate this, and I just want to show you. You'll see that in the most recent quarter that we just looked at, which is the quarter ended June 30th, their cost per coin was $18,873. That is one of the highest out of the publicly traded Bitcoin miners, especially out of the top 10 as far as market cap. cap goes. And the analysts from JP Morgan really honed in on that being their big problem. This higher price per Bitcoin creates lower gross profit margins, and when the halving comes, that's going to be an even bigger problem. Now remember, Fred did say they're looking to add 5 exahash, maybe internationally, at some lower energy costs. So this could help mitigate that to some extent, but this definitely is an issue in my opinion. And it looks like the JP Morgan analyst is citing this as their main concern as well. So if I go through the rest of what I call their question marks and uncertainties, I don't want to call them cons or negatives because some of these are more uncertainties, and obviously the stock market does not like uncertainties. There was a massive dilution event in September. They converted $417 million of debt into equity. So I put an asterisk next to this because I have this under the question marks and uncertainties, but there are some people that believe this was a reduction in their overall risk, and they actually would probably have this in the pro category. So this one's kind of a matter of opinion. The next thing I have basically is they have $300 million of convertible debt remaining. So my concern would be they just converted $417 million, and that was a lot of dilution. They did so at a much, much lower price than investors expected would happen, and many years sooner than expected. So what's to say they won't turn around and do that with the remaining $300 million, which would be another massive dilution event. So as JP Morgan factors in a $5 price target, part of that may be just dilution that they're expecting to come between the fact that they may convert this $300 million, and that is speculation. I have no idea if they're going to do that. I think investors were caught completely out of the blue. There was no talk of converting any of this debt. This debt was not due for 3+ years, and they suddenly announced that they converted $417 million of it. So these are the things that I think are driving the price of Marathon down. We talked about the list of strengths that they have. Some other things that really apply to all the Bitcoin miners. This is not specific to Marathon. The price of Bitcoin is an unknown. The network difficulty level seems to continuously increase. And then obviously in about 6.5 months, we have the halving. So these things are looming over all of the Bitcoin miners, not just Marathon. So with all that said, I want to take a quick look at where Marathon's stock is right now, what's happened to it recently, and where I think some potential price targets might be. They're down 60% in 3 months. So that's a drastic move to the downside. Like I said, a lot of the other Bitcoin miners have had 50% moves to the downside, so it's not like this is wildly out of line. And a few of the Bitcoin miners have had even bigger moves than this, 70-75%. So it's been a rough 3 months for the Bitcoin miners. While Bitcoin's gone kind of sideways, the Bitcoin miners have really, really struggled. There was about 40% move to the downside to the price target that JP Morgan issued this morning. So to me, that's one of the price targets to potentially look at. If Bitcoin were to have a bull run, in my mind, set a new 2023 high. So far, our 2023 high for Bitcoin is about 31,800. So if Bitcoin were to get to 32,000 or 33,000, and Marathon was to have some good news, have some good monthly operational reports, we get that news on what their next 5 exahash is, there's always the potential that Marathon could revisit its recent highs. This was just 3 months ago that this was very nearly a $20 stock. So that's a 150% move to the upside. So you can see there's maybe a 35% potential move to the downside, a much bigger move to the upside if things go well. Let me know in the comments what you think's coming next for Marathon. So that's all I got for you on Marathon. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, if you made it this far, please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.